I brought my laptop.
They did
Good evening, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. Christy, will you take roll call, please?
John?
Here.
Melanie?
Here.
Jake?
Here.
Linda?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Melanie, will you read us, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I approve a publication in front of me. Visitors' correspondence. Anyone desiring to speak on any item or issue not on the agenda or any item on the agenda that does not include a public hearing may do so. This shall be limited to 3 minutes. Persons should identify themselves by name and address. Persons speaking should not expect the council to engage in back and forth dialogue regarding their comments. Unless an agenda item includes a public hearing, no person may speak during the business portion of the meeting, provided, however, persons speaking during a public hearing are limited to between 5 and 20 minutes. The public is advised that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is located on the north wall of the council chambers, and one copy of all reproducible written material to be discussed at this meeting is available for examination or copy. Is there any visitors or correspondence tonight?
Good evening, Cameron Gill, City Administrator. I'm going to read an email that was sent to me on behalf of a family here in Valley. I wanted to take an opportunity to thank the Valley Police Department for how they handle instances with my brother, Owen Waldrop. The past couple years, the last months of Owen's life were filled with sadness, anxiety, loneliness. He burned any bridge he ever built. We as a family had hit rock bottom years ago. The police department, however, didn't have the choice to not answer the call when he was in crisis. I personally had to do wellness checks on my brother, as did my dad and Owen's mom. Every time we called, the police department responded with kindness, concern, and empathy. Owen had a problem that no one could fix. Eventually, my brother passed. Once again, we called to do a well check, and the office had to make the call to my dad I'm sure no one ever wants to make. He was gone, and our beloved brother, son, and father had succumbed to his demons. The next day, we had the opportunity to meet the gentleman who had been answering all the calls. They were sympathetic, they listened, and they consoled us. Chief Martinez assured us that Owen never caused any problems for them, but that he was just a very troubled man who desperately wanted out of an addiction and the life he was living. I will never forget the kindness and their patience with us, not just after Owen's death, but all the months leading up to it. If anything good came out of his passing, it was knowing there are still kind people, still good law enforcement officers, still good human beings, and also people that care. As a showing of our gratitude, we chose the Valley Police Department as honorary pallbearers at Owen's funeral. With that, I'd like to say thanks from my dad, Owen's mom, Owen's stepmom, and me, Chantel Chaney, his sister. I wanted to share this on behalf of the family that weren't able to be here, but more importantly, when this was brought to us, our police do a thankless job, and good, bad, or indifferent, not a lot of times their stories are told. So I appreciate the opportunity to stand up here and share the silver lining from a situation that, wasn't so fortunate for the family. So I'll leave that there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Number 6, the agenda. I need a motion to approve the agenda. At this time, we have received a request to remove item number 16, which is a conditional use permit for Jerry Smith. Is there anything else that needs to be removed? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to strike 19, 20, and 21.
Okay. So we would need a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of number 16, number 19, number 20, and 21.
Before we continue, I do have a question.
Okay.
On Wednesday, February 5th at 2:43 p.m., 3 of the council members submitted a request for items to be on the agenda. This is in regards to agenda item number 17 that you see right now. The specific verbiage of what was requested is executive session request. The city council requests an executive session to discuss retaining George Martin from Baird Home Law Firm as a legal counsel for city council members only to provide a second legal opinion as needed, period. What we have on our agenda today says discussion regarding retaining an outside attorney to render a second legal opinion regarding the role of city council in appointing and/or terminating city officers. Who and why was the decision made to alter that verbiage? Because the agenda does not reflect the intent of the majority.
So we review all agenda requests, and specifically this one, if you recall at our special meeting that we held on January 28th, the council had indicated a desire to obtain a second opinion specifically as to the city council's role in terminating and appointing city officers. That was discussed as part of that meeting, and that was part of that discussion that had been an agenda request. So as to this item, I mean, we can certainly discuss the specifics when we come to it as to what, what you're asking for as to the second opinion. But in connection with the agenda request that was made as part of the January 28th meeting, that's why the wording was made this way. It doesn't preclude you from discussing, specifically what you want to do with Mr. Martin.
That is not the intent for a second legal opinion at all.
Okay.
We requested in private session, who shall we talk to? And you said David Black, who we are not allowed to talk to. This legal counsel request has nothing to do with removing anyone. We don't want to remove anyone. We are not moving forward with moving anyone. We legally cannot remove anyone per state statute. So I would like that to be removed, if anyone else would, because that is not the intent.
Okay.
Okay, so then the motion that would need to be made would be removing items number 16, 17, 19, 20, and 21 from the agenda.
We still want to discuss number 17. I just don't want in appointing and/or terminating city officers.
So we can't change the agenda within 24 hours of it being published. We can remove things, we cannot add things.
Just let it be known that is not the need for a second legal opinion.
Okay, noted. So again, I would need a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of number 16, 17, 19, 20, and 21. Oh, sorry, are we going? Do you still want to talk about 17?
Still want to discuss
Okay.
a second
Okay.
legal opinion.
My apologies. We would need a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of 16, 19, 20, and 21.
Sorry, what was that? Those 16, 19, 20, and 21, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll second.
We need a motion.
Oh, motion, okay.
Would someone like to make that motion?
Yes, so.
So moved.
Yes.
So moved. Would you like to second?
Second, yes.
Okay, vote please. All in favor? Thank you. All right, consent agenda. Now I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second? Vote please. Thank you. Number 8, Jamie Codes, 28015 Huron Circle, requests no parking signs along the curb around Valley Shores in front of the apartment complex between the stop sign and the entrance to the apartment complex. Jamie, are you going to come up and state your name and address for the record, please?
Hello, Jamie Cobbs, 28015 Huron Circle, Valley, Nebraska, 68064. Brought you guys some pictures. Two cents here. They're.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
are
they're
they,
two
they're all
sets.
different?
Uh,
or are they
yeah,
just-
there's 4 pictures, 2
Oh,
sets
okay.
of each. Okay, so when the apartments were built and completed last summer, we added a lot of people to Valley Shores. Valley Shores is nice because we can walk in a circle. We have a lot of people that walk in the mornings and the evenings. Unfortunately, a lot of people do not walk on the sidewalks. They like to walk 2 or 3 wide in the middle of the road or on the side, which is also fine because it's residential. A lot of people go pretty slow. The problem over on the apartment side is as the sun comes up in the morning, it comes right over the top of the apartment complex and it's blinding on the windshields. So with people parking on the curb, you can't really see around. So you have oncoming traffic, you're trying to go around people that are parked there. And then on the other side, once you actually pass the vehicles, there's people in the middle of the street. Secondarily, when you're turning east, when you're at the stop sign, you can't see around the vehicles that are parked along the curb as well, so you're pulling into oncoming traffic that you also can't see. And thirdly, when you're at the apartment and you're coming around the curb, the apartment residents tend to run the stop sign consistently, and so I've almost been hit there twice in the last 2 weeks just from people not looking because they're not looking past the people that are parked along the road. So in the summer, it's a big deal for people that are walking, kids that are riding bikes that you can't see. And then in the winter, it's a problem because that open lot across from where the curb is, the wind comes through there. And as we get snow, it builds up. And when the city plows, they typically only plow a 1-lane path. In addition to the ice, when you come around the curve, if you're going a little bit too fast, you kind of skid a little bit. So what I would like to see is a no parking sign just along that curve between the 2 stop signs where you turn east to get into Valley Shores, and then also between there and then where the apartment complex stops to turn out of their complex. My sister called, she also lives in Valley Shores, she called the apartment manager a couple weeks ago and asked them if they could send an email asking the residents not to park there anymore. And she said they would send a correspondence, but they can't enforce anything because it's a city street. So we're just asking you to maybe put no parking signs there if you don't want to do no parking. Even no parking overnight would be helpful. Anything that could help maybe with that issue would be great. Good questions?
Do you have questions?
Do you think like a no parking permanently would be best?
Oh, what, I'm sorry?
No parking permanently, or just that night?
I would love to see no parking permanently, but obviously I would be happy with anything that you guys could do to help us. Thank you.
Jamie, I have
Yes.
a question for you. Can you just verify what I'm looking at? You're just asking for right along that curve.
Yeah, right along this curve here, people, like these, will have big constructions parked along there, and you can't see when you're turning right, and then they just run the stop sign getting onto our street. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other discussion, or would anyone like to make a motion to grant this request and add a no parking sign?
I think it makes sense what she's asking, based on, it looks like there's probably a grand total of 7 parking spaces that might be sacrificed in that particular space. And so a no parking area probably makes sense. It's simple on the curve. So
So it would just be from the entrance to the
there to there.
300, 200.
So I would make that motion to just do permanent no parking.
A second.
Okay, vote please. All in favor?
Jamie?
All right, number 9, recognition of James Olmsted. So, Olmsted and Perry's final project with the city is nearing an end, so we want to take some time to recognize Jim Olmsted and Olmsted and Perry for their dedicated service to the city of Valley for nearly 45 years. That's based on our records and Joan's knowledge, that we think you started working with the city in 1980, and then started Olmsted and Perry in 1883, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, how many different mayors have you worked with in that time?
A lot.
I didn't even try to count, but anyway, that's a long time, obviously, and we appreciate that. You have likely been part of every paving or repaving project in the city at this point in time and touched probably every street. You're also instrumental in many water and wastewater projects, including the initial design, build, and operation of the water treatment plant and lift stations to pump wastewater to Fremont. So the impact you've had on the city of Valley will be visible for many years, and we appreciate you. So if you want to come up, I have a plaque to you, and I just want to thank you and Steve Perry for all your service.
Good job, Jim.
There's the box too, Jim, sorry. All right, and then the next one, although Doug isn't here because he is still on vacation, I would also like to recognize Doug. He will be retiring at the end of this month, so we would like to recognize Doug for nearly 16 years of dedicated service to the City of Valley. He started in the Public Works Department in 2009, and while his title and department have always been Public Works, he's held numerous other duties as assigned titles, to name a few: website designer, IT director, social media manager, barbecue competition organizer, and in-house insurance expert. Many of you probably didn't know that. So even with all the tasks he took on, I think he probably always still just preferred to be mowing in the summer. So if Doug were here, and he will be back, so he will be gone by the next council meeting, we want to thank him for his dedication and loyalty to the residents of Valley as well. So.
From where?
The airport. We shouldn't have let him go to Costa Rica. He got too excited about that. All right, number 11, Open Meetings Act, refresher by City Attorney. Andrea?
Hi, Andrea Griffin, City Attorney's Office. Just want to take a minute to kind of go through, just as a refresher for all of us, the Open Meetings Act and what that requires of us as a public body. Generally, the Open Meetings Act prevents a quorum of the public body from conducting city business outside of a public meeting. And that can take numerous forms. That can be, a quorum meeting, that can be a quorum on a group text, that can be different things. But the intent of it is to prevent a quorum from a public body from forming city policy outside of an open meeting. And there's obviously requirements as to what's required for an open meeting as far as notice and all of that. But just generally kind of wanted to address that and make sure that we all understand that it's, it's an intent question about, whether we're not actually meeting or whether we're not actually in a group text, but if we're operating as a quorum and we're creating public policy, there are issues under that Open Meetings Act, and that's prevented. And if, there's some pretty serious ramifications for violating the Open Meetings Act, both individually and then as a city. Actions that are taken in a meeting that violates Open Meetings Act can be voided. And individuals who violate the Open Meetings Act can be held guilty of a misdemeanor, class 4, class 3 misdemeanor, depending on first or second offense. So the ramifications are serious. I just want to make sure we're all kind of refreshed on that as a public body. And the other thing would be just to make sure that everyone understands that public records, as city officials, both private and public correspondence, public city emails, private text messages are all considered to be public records and should be treated as such. So just a quick reminder, happy to answer any questions, but just kind of wanted to run through that so we're all on the same page.
Any questions for Andrea? Okay, thank you. Okay, number 12A, we have Resolution 2025-06. The American Legion Post 58/Legion Baseball consideration and approval of application for fireworks sales. Is there any questions related to this application? Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 2025-06, American Legion Post 58 Legion Baseball consideration and approval of application for fireworks sales.
So moved.
Second.
Vote please. All in favor? All right, at this time, I will turn the meeting over to Council President Batcher due to my involvement with the Valley Days Foundation.
So the same consideration and same ask from Valley Days Foundation regarding resolution 2025-07, Valley Days Foundation consideration and approval of application for fireworks. Motion in that regard.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Vote please. All in favor?
Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
Number 13, the special designated liquor license Shockwave Sports Association. Consideration and approval of SDL request for a fundraiser on March 1st, 2025 at the Valley American Legion Post 58. Is there anyone here speaking on behalf of that?
Stand up, please.
No? Okay, so it looks like on here they are having fundraiser on 3/1, 5 p.m., 12 a.m. That's all. Anybody have any questions about that? Okay, anyone want to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Vote please. All in favor? All right, number 14, Prominence Global Catalina, consideration and approval of amending ordinance number 823, detachment of residential SID parcel to include the streets, which is ordinance 834. Andrea, do you want to give a brief synopsis about this?
Yeah, I can touch on this. So we had prior, I think in November, we passed ordinance 823 where we detached what is now going to be SID, whatever it is, out in Catalina. We detached that residential portion. When the request came in, the legal description on the request did not contain any sort of language saying and including adjacent rights-of-way streets, et cetera, that's typical. So when we passed it, we recorded it with the county. The roads stayed behind. So we are amending, essentially we're cleaning it up by clarifying that it was intended that the roads follow the rest of that parcel. That's all this is doing. Otherwise, it's the same as what was done in November.
I would introduce a motion to approve ordinance number 834 on the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Is there any other discussion about it? Christie, can you read the short title, please?
Ordinance number 834, an ordinance amending ordinance number 823, which detached certain real property located within and adjacent to the city of Valley, Nebraska, pursuant to NEBREP Stat 18-3316, to include the entirety of all public streets, highways, and public right-of-ways within or immediately adjacent to said annexed areas, providing for an effective date of this ordinance, providing for a severability clause, and providing for the repeal of all ordinances in conflict herewith.
Vote please. All in favor? Is there a desire to suspend the rules and pass the ordinance on the second and third readings?
So moved.
Second.
Vote please. All in favor? Ordinance 834 passes on the second and third readings. All right, ordinance number 830 is consideration and approval of corrected water rates. So these are to correct the rates that we approved in December. So we had inadvertently had an error where we had flip-flopped the residential users outside city limits with the commercial and industrial users. So that's all we are changing is that error that we had. Any discussion or questions? Okay, I would entertain a motion to introduce ordinance number 830, consideration and approval of corrected water rates.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the table. Is there any other discussion? Okay, Christie, can you read the short title, please?
Ordinance number 830, an ordinance repealing section 6-208 of the Valley Municipal Code, an ordinance adopting revised section 6-208, including setting new water usage rates, services for customers of the city water department, both inside and outside the city limits, providing for an effective date of this ordinance, providing for a severability clause, and providing for the repeal of all ordinances in conflict herewith.
Okay, vote please. All in favor? Is there a desire to suspend the rules and pass the ordinance on the second and third readings?
So moved.
Second.
Vote please. All in favor? Ordinance number 830 is passed on the second and third readings. All right, so we have removed item 16 from the agenda, and then so number 17 is the discussion regarding retaining outside attorney to provide a second legal opinion to City Council. What discussion would you guys like to have on that?
What are the rules around and how are the procedures of obtaining a second legal opinion?
Yeah, I can touch on that. Just to kind of rehash some things that we've discussed, but just to clear some things up as well, as to how we've engaged attorneys in the past to get or give legal opinions to the city. And I think it's important to note that the city, for purposes of retaining an attorney, the city is both the mayor and the council. They are not adverse to each other. So the client is going to be the city. This is how it was when we retained Mr. Blagg to give us our independent legal opinion that was presented last week. He was hired, point person was the mayor, but he was hired by the city to give the city a legal opinion, a second legal opinion on a specific item. And traditionally when we've done that, the way that's worked is it's come through our firm as city attorney. So we've been directed as city attorney occasionally to engage often a specialist. So Mr. Blagg has done a lot of employment law, termination issues within the city. And then we've also engaged litigators for various items. And traditionally that's been done where our office as the city attorney contracts for attorneys to give a second opinion or to take on a specific task. That's traditionally how it's been done. And if that's, if the city council wants to direct us to do so for a specific item and wants to obtain a specific legal opinion, if we're directed to do so, we will be happy to engage with another attorney to do that.
Is there a state statute where we are not allowed to obtain an attorney?
I don't think it's a statutory question. I think it's a question of who is the client, and the client is the city, and the city, if it's going to be, the taxpayer dollars are going to go to an attorney who's going to represent the city as a whole. I don't know that there's a way to distinguish between representing the mayor and representing the city council without suggesting that those interests are somehow adverse.
So there's no state statute?
No.
Okay. Is there an ordinance that we cannot obtain
No.
appointed or pick her up? Is there a rule in the municipal code that says we can't pick an attorney that we would like?
Again, it's not a rule or an ordinance question. It's a question of who is the client.
It would be the city council members.
So that's the question. I mean, you're asking the taxpayers to pay for an attorney.
Correct.
And you're suggesting that the city council's interest is adverse to the city in that scenario.
Just looking for a second opinion. I just want to know, can we legally do that, or yes or no?
Yes, and I've told you we've done it in the past, and if you as a city council direct our firm to obtain and engage another attorney to give you a specific legal opinion, we'd be happy to do so.
Can the board select or hire a council that they've already identified?
I think the council can direct us to engage a specific attorney if that's the way the council wants to go. I think there's things to be considered with that as far as rates and what we want that to look like, because those are just generally things we want to do when we're procuring anybody. But that's, yes, I mean, if you have a specific person in mind on a specific issue and you have directed our office to engage that person for that specific item, we have no issue with that.
So we can request your office to create a resolution that we can pass to hire an appointed attorney for second opinion.
For a specific second opinion?
Yes. Well, no, in general. We're not looking to tap into them very often. You would always be our number one. But if we feel that we want to hear more options on our legal obligations, then we just want to see, then we'll tap into them. This person probably would hardly ever get tapped into, But if we feel like there might be more options that we want to just make sure that that's what's out there, then we would tap into them. There'd be times maybe we'd ask them one month and then we don't talk to them for 4 months. And then we could just say like, hey, can you just tell me what are my options? That's it.
That's your prerogative. We would obviously want to review whatever sort of engagement letter this individual would want the city to sign.
Correct, I have one. But I would just want to put it through you first, and I want to make sure we were doing that correctly.
Yes, if the city council wants to direct us, Barnum and Griffin, city attorney, to engage with a specific attorney to provide a second legal opinion when required for specific issues, you can direct us to do that.
Okay. I don't know if we need to go to an executive session. We do have a legality reason that came up yesterday.
Yes, if we're going to talk about something that needs to be and qualifies for an executive session, we can do that now, or we can wait until the end of the meeting.
We can wait until the end of the meeting. Can we revisit 17?
We can.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're staying in order.
Yep, so we'll just table 17 for action.
Okay, number 18, discussion regarding executive session confidentiality. Any questions on this as well?
The reason why number 18 was just brought up is that I just wanted to give Griffin and Farnham some time to maybe do a little bit more discovery. The last time we just talked about this situation, you just said, I think it was okay. I just wanted to double check and then we'll revisit it later. That's it. That is the only request. And this is pertaining to making sure that nothing was violated with releasing information from a private executive session. I just want to give you the time to be able to look into that.
Understood, please.
Okay. Number 22, city treasurer audit update.
Good evening, Lori Sorensen, 130 Ginger Cove Road, City Treasurer. I'm reporting tonight that the financial statements of the City of Valley are currently under audit by Bland and Associates. And the audit is progressing as follows. The single audit, which is your drinking water SRF loan, testing is approximately 90% through on that. So it will be completed fairly soon for the single audit, which goes to the federal government. Then the state audit, the financial statements audited is approximately 60% complete. Bland and Associates have been working on tying out cash, PPE, long-term debt, and AP. So we've been sending over testing samples, and they've been tearing my book and bank apart, or the city's book and bank apart. But things are going well. This year we are also transitioning into GASB, which is Governmental Accounting Standards Board. We're going into number 34, which should have taken place in 1999. But so that is transitioning us from cash to accrual basis accounting. So the financial records will reflect accrual this year versus cash, which has always been in the past. We also brought capital assets for the general in to book this year, whereas before it was just water and wastewater. So you'll see some different things within the financial statements. Do you have any further questions?
Thank you.
Or when does the audit is complete? I guess?
It is due by the March 30th.
March 30th?
It's 6 months after your fiscal year ends. So September 30th, 6 months later, it's due.
Okay.
Any other questions for Lori? Okay, thanks, Lori.
Thank you.
All right, number 23, building inspector end of year wrap up.
All right. So I just want to give you guys a recap of 2024. A lot of our information, now that we have SmartGov, is much easier to pull up. Before it was almost impossible. When you guys asked me how many homes were done, how many COs, it was kind of a wing and a prayer. Now we can track all of it really well. So I'm going to start, if you guys want this, I can get it to you. Ordinance violations in 2023 were 136, 2024 dropped down to 98, which is good. Hopefully that means hopefully we get less every year, fingers crossed. Those are split into different ones, which if you guys want that information, I can tell you. We did 726 new permits. Commercial new and remodel was 15, new residential was 65. So that's a pretty big number. Residential additions was 6, residential remodels was 8, and then all of your MEPs, your mechanical, electrical, plumbing, pool, fence, and roof were the other 629 permits. Inspections, I did 1,203 inspections last year. They're all broken down. I won't bore you with every single one that I did. Again, SmartGov can break that down for you, when it was done, what the address was. It's really nice.
What's the average per day on that?
I haven't done the math on that. I'm sure I could figure it out. I want to say it's like maybe 3 or 4 per day.
3.5.
There you go. All right. All right, 3 or 4. So of course, some days there's 1, some days there's 10. Just that's where it came out to. So Mark Eckberg did 53 inspections. He's our, we have a agreement with Douglas County that when I'm gone for a week on vacation, inspections don't just stop. He steps in. He's there for other unique instances. For example, if I decide to build in Valley, I will not be doing my own inspections. Mark will be doing them. So we just have that's kind of what we use him for. And then Sam, who does all of our electrical inspections, the state requires Sam to do them as they require a journeyman electrician to pass the NEC test. I am not that, and I will not be that. It's a lot of work. So he did 596 electrical inspections. Contractor licenses, we were at 349. Food vendors, we were at 12. Fireworks permits, we were at 2, just like this year. I have a projected growth here. These are all assumptions based on permits. Obviously, I can't tell you where we're going, just kind of based on open lots and everything else. Currently, we're probably, my number that I have is 3,568. Obviously, that's just taking permits. That's where we're getting that number from. End of 2030, this kind of does a little bit more with available lots. We could be at 4,874. Last year I did this and I was off low on my projection. So kind of depends on how quick things build. So this is the important part, fees. So water, sewer connection, and tap fees. So these are our capital facility charges. This is water and sewer. We brought in $153,600 for capital facility charges. So that is your water tap, your sewer tap when you build a new home, and then your tap fees. So that's that. That doesn't include the developer half of side. This is just on the permit side. So that number is a little higher. Lori could tell you much more down to the cent of where it actually is. These numbers are pretty close. They're probably not down to the penny, but they're pretty close. Contractor fees that we took in was $11,600, and permit fees, excluding deposits, I just take those out, was $423,600 for last year. Couldn't tell you what my, I know my operating budget was half of that or less. I don't have the exact number, but again, Lori knows it. And she wasn't yelling at me last year, so I was under it. So that's just a reminder, again, we're looking at these developments coming down the road. There's always permit fees involved, and in the 3 years I've been here, they've all been around $400,000 to $500,000 every single year with this volume we're doing. So that includes that, and then just of note, it's been mentioned before, I just want to clarify, when developers build in Valley, the city doesn't cut them a check. The checks that happen through council are through escrow accounts that they fund. So I just want to clear that up. The city doesn't pay for the road, for the sewer, for the water. That's all on the developer side. They just fund an escrow account, which is nice because then Greg can make sure that they're making the streets thick enough, they're putting the water and sewer they're supposed to go, and we can dictate, we're not going to give you your money because you didn't do what you said you were going to do. So just a FYI. Any questions for me?
Curious.
Yeah.
Those, like the water sewer capital fees, the contracting fees, and the permit fees.
Mm-hmm.
I know the city of Valley, and I'm just learning, has different buckets for different needs. what bucket would that fall into? Like, how would we use those funds allocated within the city?
So the contractor fees and the permit fees go into the GL. That's, again, we're getting into accounting here.
I know, but is the GL used for like?
That's the general ledger.
Okay, it's not for like infrastructure, water, sewer?
No, that's
like that?
just for paying our bills.
Okay,
Which account, which?
The GL.
Which deal are you talking about, the capital facility one?
No, the permit fees and
Oh,
the,
that's just general ledger,
just pays our
just
bills.
general fund.
yeah.
Okay,
And then the water sewer connection tap fees go into the capital facilities fund.
Which is restricted.
Yeah, that's specifically for water and sewer. Those are separated out, which is why I have them separate, because they fall in different GLs.
And specifically for water and sewer capital facilities.
Correct.
thank you.
Any other questions for Rue? Okay, thanks, Rue. Number 24, city administrator update. Cameron?
All right, city administrators report. Over the last year, we fielded some complaints citing Open Meetings Act violations. Two of those complaints have been reviewed by the Douglas County Attorney's Office, and those claims were found to be unfounded on all claims, so those are over and complete. We also fielded a situation with Nebraska Equal Opportunity Commission. This is in pursuant to Nebraska Fair Employment Practice Act. The city of Valley received a finding of no reasonable cause because the evidence provided in the complaint failed to support the allegations of discrimination. These two issues fall into what we're talking about making sure that we follow the Open Meetings Act rules, because when they aren't followed, they're thoroughly investigated, and as our attorneys shared, those violations have consequences, not just from the state, but, you know, going forward, how we, you know, move as a, you know, local city body. So it's important to make sure that we're in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. This last month also, I received NIMS training. I'm nationally certified in the National Incident Management System. Why this is important: when we have a natural disaster, there's a plan that goes on behind the scenes with that. It's coordinating your resources, it's coordinating your different sites where you can pick up, you know, goods and services, and it is also shelter, cooling stations, etc. Unfortunately, when I started, we were dealing with the windstorm. And I think the last thing I want to ever hear again is that this would only happen if there was a 100-year storm, because we've had 300 or 400-year storms. And so as I'm working on the emergency response plan, community involvement is going to be a huge piece. You know, being able to get information out, accurate information out, is going to be important. And making sure we account for our residents that need medical assistance and things of that nature. So also, it's important for reimbursement. FEMA has a lot of requirements around how papers are filed, how reimbursements are processed, and making sure we understand how to do those and have a system to where those things occur will save us in the long run, getting reimbursements and making sure that the city doesn't go broke trying to rebuild itself after a natural disaster. Another thing, I think that's it for me. Any questions on that?
Cameron?
Did we have an emergency response plan at all, or a natural disaster plan before you came?
Yes, ma'am. You have to renew them every 5 years, so we're up for renewal right now. In addition to that, we're going to host a public information officer training. That's a FEMA regulated certified program. It's not just someone standing in front of the media saying, you know, the trees are down. It's actual training that goes into it. And we're going to host that sometime this spring and bring in other, you know, surrounding communities to kind of sharing that, you know, how do you share information? How do you, you know, give out accurate information? So we'll have that come this spring as well. Any other questions?
Thanks, Cameron.
Thank you.
All right, number 25, people service update. Mike?
Mike Adair, People Service Inc., Region Manager, 207 East Condon Street. We still continue to plug away at meters. We're getting somewhere. I mean, we are chipping away extremely hard. I've dedicated one person to do that only weather permitting. Works with Kendra, and they just keep knocking them out every day. I believe we have a tablet now, right? Okay. We're switching equipment too, because the equipment is, I don't know, 15 years old. So we're hoping that also streamlines the downloading of the information. So we're continuing to work on that. Construction of the water plant, still under thunder here a little bit, is everything's there. We got a few more little pieces to move before they can start digging, but we're gonna have that done by next week so they can start digging. Wastewater side, Meg Street lift station, the pumps in there, we're having problems with the pump. They're as old as the lift station is, which is 2004, I think. So they've had their life, right? So we're working on getting some prices together, so hopefully we can make it to next year's budget. We can budget them in to get them replaced. That's kind of really all the exciting stuff that I have. Any questions?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I learned yesterday that the meter replacement's like $400 and it's billed to the homeowner. How do we communicate that? Do we let them know like, hey, we're coming, we're replacing your meter, it's $400? Do we leave like a note on the door? What do we do?
As far as replacing the meter, there's two sides of communication. One is from Kendra, the city, and the other one is from us. We do the manual labor, she does the communication.
Okay.
I don't know what that is through the city, but, because we just knock on the door, we're here to replace your meter. And they don't always pay for them.
Yeah, it depends on the situation.
Yeah, it depends on if they're froze because of their negligence, then yes, they're informed that you'll be paying for this meter. If we're replacing it to upgrade it, I don't think there's a charge for that.
We'd have to check.
I'd have to look into that, because all that's on the, not my side, but I can definitely find an answer out for you and let you know.
Do we have a location on our website that says like, just for, it's accessible to the public, like, hey, if you do have to pay for the meter or your meter's updated and now you owe a big bill, do we have like a button or something where it says, I need financial assistance? Or do they just have to assume automatically that they reach out and call? Or can we just like have that available, like if you need financial assistance, this is what you do?
I mean, we don't offer financial assistance as a whole. We will work with them to not pay their bill, but if they truly need financial assistance, they have to go to COPE or to some other place.
Yes. Do we have a link for that?
We don't know.
Can we produce that?
We can check into it, yeah.
Just for informational purposes?
Yeah, I mean, there's many places they could go for assistance, so do you have a list of ones that you want to include, Cameron?
So even if we don't have a page for it, we can have a link to where they can get to these different organizations. That's a great idea.
Can we just plug that in the website, like, hey, I need help, click here, click here? Okay.
Hopefully it wasn't from you, was it? Any more questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. City engineer, Greg?
Greg Perry, city engineer. Mike alluded to the water treatment plant tonight. We just have the first progress payment for that. They had mobilized their equipment here after the first of the year. Got a little bit of cold weather there right off the bat in January. Got a couple nice weeks, got some things moved around. And then again, Mother Nature just kind of set in here right here on this week. So really, all the progress payment you have tonight is just a general conditions mobilization charge for the $77,775.75. And again, that's just mobilization of equipment and materials and all of their bonding and everything else that has gone on to date. So really, once the weather breaks now, Mike alluded to it, we have one telephone line that was in conflict that we knew about that we're switching providers. That is the new one's installed. We just need to get the ends connected and get IT on the software side to get everything switched over, which is scheduled for next week. So once you'll see that is all done, the backhoes will start flying and we'll see some dirt moving. So having reviewed that, we do recommend approval of the contractor's pay application number 1.
I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 2025-08, Council consideration and action to approve contractor's application for payment number 1 in the amount of $77,775.75 to Erickson Construction.
So moved.
Second.
Vote please. All in favor?
Next item then is a Ginger Cove Steel Bridge girder replacement, or not replacement, repainting, excuse me, repainting, nothing but replacement, sorry. This is just a periodic maintenance that has not occurred for quite some time. It's been noted on our biannual bridge inspections for the last 2 cycles, so it's something that Doug and I got put into the agenda into the budget this year. I'm fumbling around that. But we did receive bids on January 29th. We had 3 bidders, with JEM Restoration bidding a little bid of $101,242. And having reviewed that, we do recommend an award of the bid in that amount. And just overall schedule, I was notified yesterday by them, they're looking at mid-April, and it's a 5 to 6 week period. When we bid the project, we did black out the May Memorial Day to late August, as the high motor traffic would be occurring in that period. But knowing that we gave 2 options for the spring season and or the fall season, but right now they're planning on the spring season. I've given Ginger Cove notification while we were bidding it. I have not followed up because that was just new information as of yesterday, so we'll be doing all that here in the next week or so. But we do recommend award to JEM in their bid amount.
I would entertain a motion to award the bid for the Ginger Cove Bridge repainting to JEM Restoration in the amount of $101,242.
So moved.
Vote please. All in favor?
Then finally, we did receive bids also on the Valley Landing Development Project, south side of Mig Street, east of 270th, directly east of the water plant. This is for the 14 commercial lots and the 1 multifamily lot to provide water, sewer, storm sewer, and street paving to that. We did bid it in 2 project contracts. So contract 1 is basically the utility underground work, piping, and then contract 2 is the street paving itself contract. And so we did have a lot of activity. I'm switching tabs here just so I get the right bid tab up. Both contracts have garnered a lot of interest. Both of them basically had 10 bids. United Utilities Excavation was the apparent low bidder of $1,074,057.66. United Utilities has not worked for the city in the past. They have worked for our office firm and on a bunch of other projects. They probably completed at least, to say, 10. They're based out of Council Bluffs. I think this entity started probably 4 or 5 years ago, but they actually bought a different entity under a different name prior to that. So they've been in business for quite some time. So we have talked to them. They are comfortable with their bid, and we do recommend award to United Utilities and Excavation in their bid amount.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve award the bid for contract number 1 for the Valley Landing Sanitary Sewer, Water Main, Storm Sewer, and paving improvements to United Utilities and Excavation in the amount of $1,074,057.66.
So moved.
Vote please. All in favor?
And then similarly, Luxa Construction was the low bidder on the street paving project of $969,229.65. Luxa has worked for the city in the past, but actually not since 2015, I think, when they paved Blue Water, actually. So having reviewed that, they are qualified, and we do recommend award in their bid amount.
I would entertain a motion to award contract number 2 for Valley Landing to Luxa Construction in the amount of $969,229.65.
So moved.
Vote please. All in favor?
And again, Rune alluded to this, as all of this money is being passed through on the city side of things, is that the developers already fronted a ILOC agreement and funded that for that, and this fortunately is less than that amount. So we are on budget. And also I meant to mention is that this includes the trail segment from 270th Street along Conran on the south side of the fire station to connect to the fire station stub as well. The only thing that we have not bid or looked at is the actual flashing beacon crosswalk stuff at that location, because it will be a separate entity where it's more likely to talk to an electrical contractor that does traffic signals and such like that, that's specialized and not part of the general contractor pool. So we will do that, but it's just something that we haven't moved forward with right now. Just some general updates. Valhaven Lift Station in Ginger Woods has been carried on for a long time. They actually were on site yesterday at Valhaven and did some prep work. Again, the weather this week, they're kind of punting until at least later in the week. And so they will start on Valhaven and then move over to Ginger Woods is the overall plan. Valley Lakes Business Park, Miss Andrea got all of the documents corralled from the developers team and funded. So that one we bid, I don't remember now, last fall. So it's under contract. That contractor is looking to be here in about 30 to 45 days. So they're ready to go on that one as well. And then the FY25 street projects, we have been working on the design work for that as well for Platt Street and Park. And we'll get those out to bid in the near future. So as you can see on the bid tabs too, the contractor market is aggressive, and it's fortunate for the city to be proceeding with some of these projects right now too. So any other questions for me?
Any questions for Greg?
Thank you.
Okay, City Attorney.
I think you guys have probably heard enough from me generally over the last few days, but most of the stuff you guys are aware of was busy month with some special meetings and some issues kind of overlaid, but we're working through all that. Valley Lakes, we've been working on finally kind of getting that across the finish line. Cameron alluded to, we've responded over the last year to a series of open meetings complaints. There's a third one in the works that I just sent our response to the Douglas County Attorney's Office, so we await one more determination from them. So I got that submitted a couple weeks ago. Been working with Rune on some upcoming zoning ordinance amendments that are going to go through planning in February, and then we'll be in front of you in March. Also kind of working, planning had requested kind of an overview from us on the city's TIF projects and kind of where we sit on that, and an overview of what we have going on and kind of what we're anticipating to start coming off of TIF. So I'm putting together a report on that I'd like to turn around and present here as well after I present it to planning. I think that's important information. So we're kind of putting that together. And then I think generally, we had a work session last night. Just wanted to note, I think we had some productive conversations about procedures and what this council would want from our office as far as information as we move forward, and moving forward with council action and how it needs to work, and communication between our office and the council. And I look forward to working with you guys, and we'll continue to move that along. So that's all I have. Open to any questions.
Any questions for Andrea? Okay, thank you. Mayor's report, I really don't have anything because you guys all came in and presented your own reports today, so that was good. Just to note, like Mike said, we are working hard at updating the meters and getting some updated software to make it easier if there is an issue that we can follow up on it. So I'll trust you two in the front there. So that is all I have. We have a lot of upcoming items coming. Valley Days Planning, February 18th, Planning Commission, February 18th, Midwinter Conference, League of Municipalities Conference in Lincoln, February 24-25, MAPA Elected Officials Training in Omaha, February 27th. If any of you want to go, reminder that registration is still open. And then we will be having a retirement party for Doug Egan on February 27th from 2 to 4 here at City Hall. Any questions for me? Okay, so then the next item.
I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session for Linda's request for the purpose of preventing needless injury or reputation of an individual, and such individual has not requested a public meeting.
Second.
Vote please. All in favor? We are going into executive session at 7:59.
Take care of you.